Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I hate to interrupt, I guess, your lively conversations, but we do need to go ahead and get started. I'm very excited to be with you this afternoon. My name is Amal Khoury, and I am professor and chair of the Department of Health Services Management and Policy here at ETSU. In previous years, I had co-taught this course with Dr. Beatty. This year I have a smaller role, but I'm very excited to be with you this month throughout October to discuss strategic planning this week. And then after your midterm exam, we will have a 2-week session to discuss program planning, management, and evaluation. So this is, as Dr. Beatty mentioned in her newsletter, this is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. One of the hats that I wear here at the college is I serve as the Associate Dean for Quality and Planning for our College of Public Health. And in that role, I'm responsible for facilitating our strategic planning activities, everything from developing the strategic plans to monitoring our performance as a college relative to the objectives and targets in our strategic plans, making adjustments, etc. So I had the honor really of getting to facilitate the development of our initial strategic plan, and then also a couple of years ago overseeing the development of the current strategic plan for the college, which is our 5-year strategic plan that we are currently operating under, the 2014-2019 strategic plan, which I will share highlights with you a bit later. So again, this is a very exciting topic for me. I hope that I will be able to generate the same level of excitement among you today. I want this class to be, interactive. I have a number of brief classroom activities that I have planned for you that we will be doing throughout the afternoon. So there will be some lecture, some opportunity for you to reflect on the lecture and to work on brief exercises. I do hope that by the end of the afternoon, you leave here with a solid understanding of the principles and concepts of strategic planning. Obviously, in one session, in one afternoon, we cannot delve deep into all of those principles. In fact, we do offer through our department semester-long courses in strategic planning. We have an undergraduate course in planning and a graduate course in strategic planning that we are actually offering this semester. So you will have the opportunity, if you so desire, to learn more about this topic through those offerings. But for purposes of this introductory course, we're only able, to offer an introduction. Again, that said, I hope that it will be a solid introduction and get you a good understanding and mastery of the key principles of strategic planning. In terms of how this fits with the layout of this course, and I'm pretty sure that Dr. Beatty has discussed this with you. The first month, the first 4 or so weeks, the course was focused on introducing the public health system and the healthcare system. So you heard from Dr. Beatty and you heard from Dr. Hale about how the public health and the healthcare systems in our country are organized at the federal, state, and local levels, different issues related to healthcare financing, access to care, quality of care, particularly within the context of healthcare reform. Starting this past week, the focus shifted on different managerial functions. So this past week, Dr. Beatty discussed the role of leaders in developing partnerships and bringing together different stakeholders around the same table to affect the change. Strategic planning is another key managerial function of public health leaders. It is actually believed that a leader at any organization has 5 key functions, primary functions. Strategic planning or management is one of them. Organizing the organization, the institution, to achieve maximum efficiency and effectiveness is another key function. Human resources management, budget and financial planning and control, and influencing and motivation. Okay. So in the health management literature, those 5 are believed to be the key managerial functions. And again, today we are focusing on one of those major managerial functions. At any point, feel free to stop me if I'm going too fast. If you're not understanding what I'm discussing, I don't mind being interrupted at all, okay? Again, it's very important for me that you understand and that I'm not just talking over you. So I want you please to take a moment and just read this slide to yourself. And then I'm going to ask May to be Alice, and Bethany to be Cheshire Puss. And go ahead and read this loudly for us, please.
Cheshire Puss, would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?
That depends a good deal on where you want to get, said the cat.
I don't much care where,
Then it doesn't matter much which way you go.
so long as I get somewhere.
Oh, you're sure to do that.
So this is from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, okay? What's the point of this slide?
If you don't know where you want to go, you won't ever get there.
You'll get somewhere, okay? But God knows where you'll get, right? So we need direction. Okay, the idea here is every organization, every household, every individual needs direction. Okay, you're all working towards important goals at this point in your life. Okay, one of your key goals, I assume, is to successfully obtain your graduate degree, right? And to enhance then, your chances of entering the workforce and making a difference in the areas that you're interested in. So you're pursuing, that goal. You may be pursuing other goals as well. The same for every organization. Strategic planning provides direction for the future. Okay? Provides a framework for action. Provides goals and objectives that everyone in the organization buys into. Without a strategic plan, it's really difficult to determine how to proceed. So with that, our learning objectives for this afternoon are to describe the elements of the strategic management process and the importance of strategic planning to all types of organizations. Second, we will analyze why planning sometimes fails and what the critical factors are to ensure that strategic planning efforts are successful. And third, we will conclude by applying principles of strategic planning for community health improvement. Now, this is a true or false question. Okay? You're going to have to answer it. Strategic planning, okay, is a critical managerial function for all types of organizations. True or false? True. Okay. Now, why I am emphasizing this? Because some believe that strategic planning is really necessary only in the private sector, perhaps, okay, or that it is less applicable for the public sector, for government run organizations, or for the non-profit sector. This is absolutely wrong. Okay? While the principles of strategic planning emerged in the private sector, okay, it has become clear and accepted that strategic planning is critical, again, for the survival and for the functioning of all types of organizations. So today, okay, public health agencies, healthcare organizations, just like the auto business or the manufacturing sector, they are as engaged with strategic planning as they need to be. And this quote is from NACCHO, the National Association of County and City Health Officials, and it demonstrates the point that I'm making. A strategic plan is so fundamental to effective management that it is one of the 3 prerequisites for local health departments seeking accreditation. Okay? So the point again that I'm making here is regardless of what type of organization you will be working with, whether you're a community health student or an epidemiology student, regardless of where you will be working, it's very important to understand and to apply principles of strategic planning. So today we will present the strategic management or strategic planning process as a series of 4 phases or 4 steps, okay? Starting with situational analysis, moving on to strategy development, followed by action planning, and then strategic evaluation and control. Importantly, while this slide shows those 4 phases as sequential, as linear, the relationship really between those 4 phases is more cyclical, because the findings of the strategic evaluation and control phase should inform the situational analysis. This will become clearer. We will come back to this point later in the presentation. For now, keep in mind that really throughout the afternoon, everything that we will do this afternoon is to get us to understand and to apply each of those phases of the strategic management process. We will start with situational analysis, which is also known as an environmental scan. We will then discuss the strategy development, then action planning, and conclude by discussing strategic evaluation and control. So I will keep coming back to this slide to show you where exactly we are in the process. So we will start with phase 1 of the strategic management or planning process, which is the situational analysis. Again, you may hear this phase referred to as the market analysis. You may hear this phase referred to as the environmental scan. All of those terms refer to the same types of activities. Within the situational analysis, within this phase, there are 2 sub-phases, okay, or steps. Okay? So the situational analysis starts with developing or refining the mission, vision, and values of the organization. And then it proceeds to the situation assessment. Now, last week, I believe mission, vision, and values were discussed. Okay, is that true?
Yeah.
So we're going to delve into them a bit more today, because this is very important, again, for all of us to understand what those terms stand for, and also because for your team project, you will be developing a mission statement, a vision statement, and a set of core values for the coalition that you will be proposing. So it's important that you're comfortable with this area. Okay? So as I mentioned, the strategic planning process starts by either developing or revalidating the mission, vision, and values. So if you're a new organization, of course, you have to develop those from scratch. If you are not a new organization, at the beginning of the strategic planning process, you have to get together the different members of the organization and revalidate them. And so this is exactly what we did here in the College of Public Health. When I joined, the college back in 2007, about 10 years ago, we were developing, the College of Public Health. And at that time, we developed a new mission, a new vision, and a new set of core values for our college as part of developing our initial strategic plan. Okay? A couple of years ago, when we were working on our 2014-2019 strategic plan, we revisited our mission, vision, and values. We actually made revisions to the mission and vision statements of the college, and we kept the core values exactly as is because we concluded, faculty, staff, students, and other stakeholders, that the core values had served us well. So what's a mission? This should be, again, a summary of what we discussed last week. The mission states the organization's distinctive purpose and reason for existence. Okay, so the mission basically articulates why the organization exists and what is its distinctive purpose. Okay. So let's take a look at a couple of mission statements for organizations that you may be familiar with. And this is the mission statement for NASA. And their mission statement is to explore the universe and search for life and to inspire the next generation of explorers. What do you guys think about this mission statement? Does it describe the purpose of this organization?
Yes.
Is it distinctive enough?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone disagrees? Anyone does not like this mission statement or feels that it's too vague or not appropriate or would like to see it revised? Okay, well, let's try one more. Disney's mission statement: to make people happy. What do you guys think about that?
Happy in what way? Yeah.
Like that could be Starbucks mission statement. Like anybody's mission statement can be to make people happy.
Alright.
So you're saying it's not distinctive enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
If they said like to provide entertainment or like that would be more specific.
Like NASA said, kind of explains slightly what they plan to do and how they plan to execute their mission through their statement. Whereas like Disney just says what we want to do versus how can we do this as well.
And can you actually quantify it? Can you quantify happiness? And in the first one, inspire. How do you measure that you have actually inspired the next generation of explorers?
So that brings in a great point. What do we measure in strategic planning? Do we measure the mission, or do we measure our goals and objectives that are based on the mission? So again, this will become clearer as we discuss today, but that's an excellent point. Yes, sir?
Oh, yeah. For NASA's mission, it says to explore the universe. It doesn't really specify whether it's outside the Earth or not. To be part of the universe, right? And it doesn't specify whether it's extraterrestrial life or not. But we know they're all focused on outside Earth. And we are living beings here, I mean.
So you're saying perhaps it needs to be a bit more specific?
Yeah,
But we don't know what's out there.
anything outside the earth they're interested in. And it's aliens they want to find.
We don't want aliens. No aliens. Ecosystem. No.
Would life be defined in a different way?
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder, as for these statements, is this about it being specific or about it being catchy?
Right, so that's a good
So
point.
if you put in too many words there, it becomes too detailed, it becomes a paragraph, and it loses that catchy.
Okay, so
So it should be more catchy than specific.
that's a good point. We need some balance between the mission statement being catchy and importantly, we really want everyone in the organization to remember the mission statement and to be able to state the mission statement in their sleep, right?
Yeah.
So perhaps the more we add to it, it may be difficult for our stakeholders to remember it. Thank you. I think I saw another hand.
I have a different opinion from his, or an opinion of missions has to be specific. Let's make it broad so that we can explore. To make people happy, it's not something that can be quantified. But we would all agree in this class, well, maybe it's an assumption of agreement that nobody goes to Disney World and is not happy. So it makes it a kind of broad sense so that they can explore other options. So it doesn't have to be specific, it has to be something specifically broad.
That's the balance that we need. We need to have a balance.
Well, those are excellent. Okay, so thank you for your input about mission. Okay. Vision statements now. So vision statements, again, as I'm sure Dr. Beatty shared with you last week, are more futuristic. Okay, they paint a picture of what the organization wants to be in the future or what the change they're hoping to affect or how they would like to see their target population impacted in the future. Okay, so whereas the mission, again, is more descriptive of the purpose of the organization, the vision statement really needs to be motivational or inspirational, meaning that it should create excitement among the members of the organization and among the community and trigger action towards a desired future outcome. In other words, help generate hope for the future. And this is, again, just a quote that demonstrates the importance of vision. It is vision and the leaders who can articulate that vision that helps people accept uncertainty and gives people the confidence to say, I have a dream and I want to be a part of it. Core values now are guiding principles. Okay, so core values tend to be very brief, phrases or one or two words that highlight the guiding principles of the organization, the philosophy, the ideals, sometimes what we call the soul of the organization. So let me show you briefly. So this is our College of Public Health Accreditation webpage. And those are our core values as a college. They are in those navy and gold circles. So we have 8 core values or guiding principles: altruism, community service, dignity, treating everyone with respect, diversity, excellence in education, integrity or honesty, research advancement, and teamwork. Okay. Again, those core values were developed about 10 years ago when we were creating the college, and we revisited them a few years ago and determined that they had served us well, so we kept them unchanged. However, we did revise our mission statement recently, and our mission statement is wordy and is hard to remember. So it's actually 4 mission statements, each addressing one of our fundamental roles. So we have a mission statement related to education, a mission statement related to research, a mission statement related to service, and we also added, this mission statement here, which is quite, unique to us, to create an environment that is personally and professionally rewarding for faculty, staff, and students. Okay? We felt, as the college leadership and as faculty, staff, and students, that because an organization's human resources are its most valuable asset, that it's very important that we do whatever we can to create an environment that is supportive and that is rewarding, and where there is balance, between work and family and personal life. And I'll show you later how we've operationalized those mission statements into goals and objectives. Our vision statement is what you see in the yellow box here. The ETSU College of Public Health is the school of choice. So we want to be the school of choice for students who want an exceptional experience in a world-class environment. We did not get very wordy there. We did better, I think, with our vision statement. Okay, so now we will pause the recording, please, Amy, and moving along. So at this point, we have completed the first phase of the situational analysis. Again, we have spent some time as an organization developing or refining our mission, vision, and values, making sure that they are distinctive, describe our purpose, our stakeholders can remember our mission, our vision is hopeful, futuristic, and our values reflect our philosophy and ethics. So with that as the foundation, we can proceed to conduct what is called as the situation assessment, or again, also known as the environmental scan or the market scan. So this is where, as an organization, we have to look, inside our walls and outside our walls. We have to examine our external environment in which we operate, and we have to examine our internal operations as well to determine what are those factors that will likely facilitate our success versus hinder our success in the future. So the situational assessment involves, again, assessing the external environment in which the organization operates. Again, the organization can be any type of organization, as well as its internal environment. The purpose of this exercise is to determine which factors are subject to the organization's control and how the organization will be affected by external forces. So I know this is a very busy slide, so just bear with me as I explain it. So this is focused on the external environment. So when a public health agency or when a hospital or a healthcare system are engaging in assessing their external environment, they really first need to identify who are the different players that currently have or will likely have an impact on the organization. And those can include, regulating agencies, accrediting bodies, healthcare providers, financial and other resources, professional associations. The customers of the organization can be patients, can be students, or others, sources of reimbursement for the organization and community partners. All of those are important players that, again, as part of this assessment of the external environment phase, we really need to spend some time studying them, checking what their plans are for the next 5 to 10 years, and determining how changes in each of those areas, again, will likely impact our organization. So another way of describing the external environment is by keeping in mind that as a health organization, as a public health agency or a hospital or a clinic or what have you, the health organization does not operate in vacuum. The health organization operates within a micro environment, which is also embedded within the macro environment. The micro environment is specifically the health environment that can affect the organization. So the microenvironment or the health environment would include, things like the availability of healthcare providers, the reimbursement policies of different health plans, the accreditation criteria of accrediting agencies, patient preferences, health trends in the community. All of those are examples of factors, in the immediate microenvironment that the health organization should be assessing. In addition, the health organization itself and its health environment are impacted by the broader macro environment, meaning by the economy, by the sociodemographics of the population that the organization serves, by political forces, and other factors. So the external assessment of the environment is really not complete until the organization has examined both factors in its microenvironment as well as the broader macro environment in which it operates. And again, this will become clear as we look at some examples. Simultaneously, the organization should take a look at its internal environment. So when we, again, engaged in the process of developing our 2014 to 2019 strategic plan, folks, about how long do you think it takes a large organization? About how long does it take them to develop, let's say, a 5-year strategic plan? To go through all of those 4 phases and actually develop a good plan? About how much time it takes, you think? 1 to 2 years at minimum. Okay. So we had different work groups, different committees that were examining the external environment, and at the same time we had other work groups that were examining the internal environment. And all of our work groups that we created included faculty, staff, students, and alumni, because we wanted to engage all of our stakeholders in this process. So we looked at the human resources, for example, of our college. Do we have the right complement of faculty and staff to deliver on our mission? Human resources is a very important issue for healthcare organizations. I'm working on a project currently in the state of South Carolina, and one of the major challenges facing the rural local health departments there is that they are not able to recruit and retain advanced practice nurses because of the shortage of advanced practice nurses and physicians in those rural areas, and because the public health agencies often cannot compete in terms of the pay with private entities. Okay? So human resources is a big deal. We looked at our technology. I'm using D2L now. I'm using WebEx to stream. Okay? We asked ourselves, is this the right technology for what we're trying to achieve? Is it the most up-to-date technology? Okay? Do we need to change? Similarly, health organizations, look at their technology. There's a big push now for organizations to adopt electronic health records, okay, in place of paper medical records. They look at their equipment, at their diagnostic equipment, at their operating rooms, and other technologies. We look at our financial health. How are we doing in terms of revenues relative to expenses, in terms of assets relative to liabilities? Okay, we want to be in the black. We don't want to be in the red. Supply chain, data, information, and organizational culture. This is very important. So, there are multiple sources that we use to collect this data. We don't have to reinvent the wheel on everything. There are multiple existing data sources that health organizations can use. Everything from census data to surveillance systems to national surveys. But in addition, it's also important to collect primary data using surveys, focus groups, and interviews from the stakeholders of the organization, patients, providers, and others. How do we organize this information? Okay, so we spend months collecting information about the external environment and the internal environment. What do we do with it? How do we organize it? How do we make sense of it? How do we present it to our planners and stakeholders? There are multiple tools that are used in strategic planning to organize assessment data. One of the most commonly used tools is the SWOT analysis. How many in the room has heard about the SWOT analysis? Okay. So the SWOT analysis, again, is a common tool to summarize and present the findings of the situational assessment. We start with a long list, but we should typically summarize it into one page. So how does this work? Again, we're working on the situation assessment. We do an internal analysis and an external analysis. And we organize all of the data and the information that we collect into one of 4 categories: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This is what the term SWOT refers to. Strengths and weaknesses are internal to the organization, whereas opportunities and threats exist in the external environment in which the organization operates. Okay? So strengths are those positives that define the organization, that make it unique. The resources, the capabilities of the organization can be tangible or intangible. Weaknesses are the flip side, of strengths. They are internal factors that can hinder the performance of the organization. Opportunities are potential areas for growth, again, that exist in the external environment. And threats are challenges confronting the organization that, again, can hinder its success in the future. So let's take a look at few examples to see if we can differentiate among strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay? So now we're going to start in the front. since we started in the back of the last tab, and we're gonna do this exercise together, okay? And I want you guys to be loud and clear, okay? And if you're louder than me, you'll get the reward. So, first one, patents that the organization holds. Sylvester, strength, weakness, opportunity, or threat?
I think it's a strength.
So the first thing you have to determine, is this something that's internal to the organization or it's something that's in the external environment, okay? Then you've narrowed it down to either weakness or strength or opportunity and threat. So this is a strength, it's internal to the organization. Insufficient organizational resources.
Insufficient organizational resources is a weakness for the organization. It's an internal problem.
Is a weakness and internal problem. If anyone is not following or disagrees, you've got to speak up, okay? Please. Organizational products with strong brand names, think Nike, Under Armour.
Strength.
This is a strength of the organization. Thank you. Loyal customers.
Strength.
This is a strength of the organization. Very high quality products.
Strength.
Strength. Excellent financial condition. The organization has an excellent financial condition. They made
Strength.
$5 million. It's a strength. Okay. So we're not talking about the financial condition of the market in which the organization operates. We're not talking about the economy. We're talking here specifically about the bottom line of the organization. Okay. Poor product quality.
Weakness.
A weakness. Okay. Imagine if this phone does not work. Outdated technologies. Weakness. Again, imagine if D2L keeps crashing on you. Bad idea. Emergence of new models of care delivery. This is an opportunity, exactly. So here we're talking about integrated care, we're talking about patient-centered medical homes, different models of organizing and delivering care. So that's an opportunity. Okay, let's try some more. The organization has a high-skilled workforce.
That would be a strength.
That would be a strength if the faculty know what they're talking about. That's pretty good. The organization has a high-cost structure.
Weakness.
This is a weakness. Again, if we're not efficient in our operations, that is going to affect our price point and our ability to compete in the environment. The organization has unskilled workforce.
Our weakness.
A weakness. The organization has efficient distribution channels for obtaining its supplies and distributing its products.
Strength.
Strength. The organization has strong leadership.
Strength.
Strength. Thank you. Solid reputation.
Strength.
Unhappy customers with the competitor.
That would be a threat.
Unhappy customers with the competitor.
Oh, sorry, opportunities.
This is an opportunity because I can grab them, right? If there are students who are not happy with the university next door, I bet you are going there and bringing them here. There's an economic stimulus package that the government is pumping, to help organizations during difficult financial times. Opportunity. This is what happens during the economic recession. A few years ago, and President Obama authorized an economic stimulus package. Okay. Better economic conditions.
Strength.
Better economic conditions. Opportunity. Okay? Are we clear why this is an opportunity? Not a strength. Because we're talking about the economy, about the macro environment in which the organization operates. Okay? Health insurance marketplaces. This is where individuals under the Affordable Care Act, they can go online and shop and purchase health insurance. This is an opportunity. Okay, where are we with our term? Okay. Medicaid expansion, expanding the Medicaid program to cover more of the uninsured.
Opportunity.
This is an opportunity. Thank you. Economic recession.
Threat.
Threat. Excellent. Physician shortage in rural areas.
A threat.
A threat. Shortage of public health nurses.
It's also a threat.
Also a threat. Maybe I should let you out early, guys. You know your stuff. Cuts in reimbursement. Health insurance plans, Medicare, Medicaid, others are planning to decrease their reimbursement to doctors, nurses, hospitals. That's a threat. That's a threat. Okay? Again, if you're not sure why, let us know. Okay. Do we have some sense of what those things are? There's a question.
I was going to talk about the economic recession. So during that recession, I've heard of companies that make the most amount of money during that recession because there was recession. So so I mean, how do we deal with that? Do we say that's a threat or an opportunity?
It's not the opportunity. They took advantage of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's an
For
opportunity
example,
for them.
China.
Yeah. So sometimes there's a saying, and I'm trying to translate it. Some people's bad fortune are other people's good fortune. So that's in this case, I mean, the same factor can be an opportunity for one organization or one nation or one economy, but at the same time, a threat for others. So you have to look at it in terms of your own organization.
Yeah.
What does it mean for your own organization, and how does that affect what your plan should be moving forward?
For example, the educational organization, more people came back to school
Right.
because there was no job.
Right, we saw an increase
Yeah.
in the number of applications, right, and this is always what happens during recessions. Yeah, more people return to school, yeah. So it can be an opportunity for us, but a threat for other sectors of the economy. So it's certainly sector specific, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so we're gonna pause, the recording now, and we're gonna. Okay, so if I can have your attention, again, I hate to always interrupt your conversations, but I don't know how else to do it. So we're gonna again continue with our discussion. Again, I hope that everyone feels that they have at least an adequate introduction to what happens in the situational analysis phase. Everything related to visioning, conducting those external and internal assessments, and developing your SWOT analysis. So now our planning, work groups are going to move into the strategy development phase. And at this point in the planning process, again, our work groups, and notice I keep saying work groups, committees, not one individual administrator hiding in their office behind a closed door. Okay, this has to be a group effort. Now our work groups are going to use the information that was collected during phase 1, together, of course, knowing what the mission, vision, core values of the organization are, and they're gonna work to match the strengths identified with the opportunities, while at the same time addressing the weaknesses and the external threats. So the idea here is to maximize the strengths, leverage the opportunities, and then proactively plan for what might go wrong. So this phase, the strategy development phase, involves setting the overarching strategic direction of our organization, again, for the next year or 5 years or 10 years, whatever our planning time frame is. So this is where we will identify the strategic priorities or issues for the organizations. Those are typically 4, 5, 6, 7 strategic priority issues that we want to pursue. Okay, so this is not a list of 20 different strategic priority issues. They're no longer priorities if they're that many, and they're no longer strategic. It's also not one or two issues. And we'll see some examples. And then for each strategic priority area, okay, we want to identify goals and objectives. So what are the difference between those terms? What do they mean? Goals are broad in nature. Okay, again, for every strategic priority area, the planning work groups should identify one or more goals to support achievement of that strategic priority area. Goals should be supportive of the mission and vision of the organization, futuristic in focus, obviously, shape the way ahead. And as I mentioned, there should be broad participation in the development of the goals. If the goals, again, are developed only by the chief executive officer or by the chief planning officer without active input from the different stakeholders, there's not going to be buy-in, there's not going to be commitment to pursuing those goals, and the whole strategic planning process might fail. And the goals should be ambitious, okay, meaning they should drive higher levels of performance while at the same time being realistic, okay? So it's a balance, right? We want the goals to help move us forward, but we don't want them to be so unrealistic that they set us up to fail. Whereas goals are broad in nature, objectives are specific, okay? So for each goal in our strategic plan, we have to develop one or more specific objectives, okay? So think about this, okay? We have a small number of strategic priority issues. For each priority issue, we develop one or more goals, and for each goal, we develop one or more specific objectives. Objectives must be SMART, okay? And in a couple weeks, we will spend quite a bit of time discussing how to develop SMART objectives, and we will learn how to develop SMART objectives. SMART means they have to be specific, they have to be measurable. Okay, we have to be able to measure the achievement of the objectives. They have to be attainable. That's what the A stands for. Attainable means, again, they have to be ambitious, but at the same time realistic. The R means that they have to be relevant, directly support the goal, and they have to be timed. We have to indicate in the goal the time frame by when we expect to achieve, the objective, by when we expect to achieve that objective, okay? So again, SMART objectives, and we will see some examples. Objectives must compel the organization into action, be simple and easy to understand, and again, acceptable to those employees who must execute them. And typically, it's typical to have, several objectives to be able to meet a goal. So, let's take a look at few examples, and again, together, try to determine if each example is a goal or objective. Keep in mind, the goal is broad, the objective is SMART. Okay? The first one, reorganize the entire organization for better responsiveness to customers. This time we're going to start in the middle with Manul. Goal or objective? Goal. Again, if anyone disagrees, now is the time to raise your hand. The second example, enhance the physical conditions of our public facilities. Goal or objective?
Objective.
Okay, is this SMART? Do we see, can we measure it? Is it time framed? It's a goal, okay? It's not specific enough to be an objective. An objective under this goal might look something like renovate all classrooms in Lamb Hall by December of 2019, okay? Now it's an objective. We can measure that. Did we renovate all the classrooms, and did we do it by December 2019? Okay. Third example, monitor employee morale through annual satisfaction surveys.
So this is an objective. You can measure this.
This is an objective. We can measure it. It's specific. We want to do this annually, and we can determine if we've actually conducted those surveys or not. Consolidate payable processing through a P-card system over the next 2 years.
Objective.
This is an objective. Again, measurable, specific, timed. Next example, launch at least 3 quality improvement pilot projects over the next 2 years to improve inpatient outcomes. This is an objective. Now let me ask you this. Under which goal on this slide you think this objective might fit? Under reorganize the entire organization for better responsiveness to customers. So this one, launching 3 quality improvement pilot projects, can very well be an objective under this broad goal. We will need other objectives, obviously, to achieve this goal, but this one can certainly be one of them. We're getting the idea? Okay. Partner with key stakeholder organizations to enhance coordination in service delivery.
A goal.
A goal. Okay. So now let's take a look at a couple more examples. So this document that's in front of you is what we call our college's strategic plan at a glance. Again, this is the college's 2014-2019 strategic plan that we're currently operating under. We sort of summarized it in a 1-pager, okay, that has been distributed to all faculty, staff, student organizations. You've probably seen this in the hallway, okay. So again, this is at a glance, the strategic plan at a glance. It shows our mission, our core values, again in those circles, the vision statement in the box right here, and then there's a summary of our strategic plan. Take a moment, please, and look at this, and let me know the number of strategic priority areas that we've identified for our current strategic planning cycle. 6 strategic priority areas. What are those? Raise your voice, please.
Education, research, service and applied public health, diversity, workforce, and resources.
Okay, so those are the 6 strategic priority areas that we identified. Okay, how many goals do we have under each strategic priority area? 1 to 2 goals under each strategic priority area. So what you see inside those boxes are the goals related to the strategic priority area. So we have 2 education goals, 1 research goal, 2 service goals, 1 diversity goal, 1 workforce goal, and 1 resources goal. And then for each goal, we developed several objectives, which I will show you in a minute. So this is an example from a college. Let's see how an example from a health department might look like. So I passed around 2 strategic plans during the break, one from the Florida Department of Health and one from the Illinois Department of Public Health. So please, if you have the Illinois Department of Public Health in front of you, just pick it up, and we'll get to that one in a second. And go please to page 17. Those are the strategic priority areas that the Illinois Department of Public Health have identified. How many are there?
5.
5. And what are those?
partnership development,
Mhm.
data quality utilization and dissemination,
Mhm.
health disparities, regulatory compliance, brand, market, and communicate value.
So again, what's in your hand is the actual strategic plan for the state of Illinois Department of Public Health, their current strategic plan, their 2014-2018 strategic plan. So it starts by presenting, they acknowledge the different working groups, so you can see what working groups they created on page 5 to guide the strategic planning process, and actually who the individuals were who served on each working group. Then they present their mission, vision, and core values. And again, on page, I believe this is page 15, they talk about their SWOT analysis, and then they identify their strategic priorities on page 17, and under each strategic priority, they list their goal for that strategic priority. So let's switch now to the Florida Department of Health, their strategic plan. Again, if you have that in front of you, please take a look at it. They actually go ahead and identify their strategic priority areas even in their table of contents, okay, which is the second page. And how many strategic priority areas does Florida have? 4. And what are those?
Health protection and promotion, financial and business excellence, service to customer and community, workforce development.
Okay. So again, this strategic plan, similar to the other one, it starts by an introduction on page 4. The Florida Department of Health identifies their mission, vision, and values. They describe their strategic planning process. They identify their strategic priority areas. Their SWOT analysis is actually an appendix on page 74. Okay. Any questions about this? Okay. So let's take a look now at how, again, objectives might look like. So I'm gonna go and I'm going to pull our full strategic plan. So bear with me for just a minute here. So this is the entire strategic plan of our college. It is online on our college website. Again, it's organized similar to the health department ones that you saw. The point that I'm making here is that the principles of strategic planning, again, are the same across multiple settings. We start by defining our mission, vision, core values. We talk about the process that we use to develop the plan, because the process is as important as the plan itself, how we involve different working groups and how we obtained external input. We identify our 6 priority areas. And let me give you an example here. So let's take a look, for example, at education. Education is one of our strategic priority areas. We had 2 goals under education. The first one is to expand and continuously benchmark our programs with student workforce and public health needs. And then you can see the specific objectives in the dark blue rows under the goal. So we have multiple objectives related to that goal. 4 objectives related to our first goal. Our second goal is to continuously attract qualified students and provide them with a high quality educational experience. So our objectives here focus on the qualifications of the incoming student body and the quality of the educational experience. So again, multiple objectives under each goal. And I'll return to this in a second after we talk about phase 3. So where we are now is at phase 3. Again, now that we have our strategic priority areas, goals and objectives, we want to put together our action plan. This is also known as the implementation plan. This is really the roadmap that will show us how we are going to go about achieving each of our objectives. So what are the elements of an action plan? So I'm going to go back to my example. And let's take a look here at this objective. I know it's a little hard to read, but objective E2.2, this is one of our education objectives. Deliver high quality educational programming focused on competency achievement and workforce readiness. What you see under this objective, this is our action plan related to this objective. So we've identified a number of indicators that we will use to measure the quality of our educational programming. The second column is the source of data for measuring each of those indicators. The third column is the position or person responsible for collecting and tracking that data. The fourth column is the frequency by which we are going to collect and track that data. The fifth column is our target, where we want to be, our performance target. And the last column is the baseline data, how we performed relative to that target at the time that we were developing our plan. Okay. So one of our indicators, for example, if we look at the first row related to this objective, is the proportion of students who report that the coursework increased their knowledge and skills in the subject matter. We use the student assessment of instruction that you will complete at the end of this semester to track that indicator. The Dean's Office and the department chairs are responsible for collecting, tracking, and monitoring that data every semester. Okay? Our target is that at least 90% of our students, we want them to report that the coursework increased their knowledge and skills. And you can see during the 3 years prior to the strategic plan, those figures were 94%, 94%, and 93%. And we do that for each and every indicator, under each and every objective. Okay. And then later in the document, we even take this a step further to define what are the action steps, the strategies that we need to implement to achieve that objective. Okay. So this is where, in a way, the real work, happens. Okay? Because it's great to identify, goals and objectives, but goals and objectives don't take care of themselves. Okay? So we have to be very intentional about what actions we will take during this 5-year period to ensure that this objective is achieved. And we have to specify who's responsible, again, the time frame, the performance target. So this is what's outlined, on your slides here. How do we implement the strategy? We implement the strategy by developing action plans. What that means is that for each objective, we develop a supportive action plan that identifies, again, the specific actions that we want to take to implement that objective, who's responsible, by when, and what kinds of resources are needed to make it happen. One of the main reasons that strategic plans fail is we spend 1 or 2 years putting it together. It's beautiful, right? All in color, branded using the blue and gold theme, right? Nice pictures of students on the front, everyone is happy. But we fail to identify what resources are going to be needed to implement that plan. So what I'm saying here is that strategic planning and financial planning need to go hand in hand. Okay? They really cannot and should not be separated. Because again, objectives don't take care of themselves. Okay? Like you can have an objective of passing the course, but you have to show up to class, you have to do the homework, you have to take the exams, right? Participate in the team project, you have to complete all of those actions in the time frames specified to achieve your objective of passing the course with a good grade. So setting objectives without action plans does not get you anywhere. And again, we have to be mindful of what resources are needed, including money, human, and other resources. Now, those action plans become, again, our way of evaluating our progress and controlling our path. So what does this mean? It means that, again, after we define the indicators and our targets, we have every quarter or every semester or every month or every year, depending on what our time frame is for that target, we have to collect actual performance data. We have to measure how we are performing relative to that target. Okay. And report on the progress. Earlier this week, our president of ETSU, Dr. Brian Noland, delivered the State of the University address. I don't know if you've had the chance to go to that or see that, but it's actually recorded and online. He does that at the beginning of every school year. What the State of the University address is, it's a progress report sharing with the university community and the stakeholders how the university is doing this year relative to the targets in its strategic plan. Our college progress report, our dean delivers that in February of each year. At the beginning of the spring semester, we have a college-wide meeting. All faculty, all staff, and the president of the student council are invited to that meeting. And he delivers the State of the College address, which is an annual progress report highlighting how the college is performing, again, relative to all of those targets that you saw in the strategic plan. A lot of people work very hard to collect that data and to make sure that it is, ready for that presentation. And what this allows us to do then is we can make necessary changes during the strategic planning cycle if again the progress report is showing that we are not on track or we're not progressing like we need to. So here are few examples of indicators and targets showing how we can set realistic targets that are ambitious but also attainable and that are incremental in nature. So there are 3 examples on this slide. The first one is the proportion of employees of the organization who are trained in safety and emergency. Okay. So this is saying that currently, this year, we know, based on the data that we are collecting, that 80% of our personnel are trained in safety and emergency, which is a significant increase from where we were last year. Our target for the coming year is 95%. Okay? So we established this target based on the past trend. In this case, we saw a 15 percentage point increase between 2016 and 2017. And as an organization, we're saying that our target is to achieve another 15 percentage point increase over the next year. So that by the end of 2018, 95% of our personnel are trained in safety and emergency. This is another example of an indicator, the proportion of toxic sites meeting compliance. 70% of toxic sites are compliant this year. Again, this is a significant increase from the 55% figure in the previous year, and we set a target of 85% for next year. The third example is the average time to process a new employees. Here, do we want to see an increase or a decrease?
Decrease.
We want to see a decrease because we want more efficient processes for getting the new employees on board and ready to start functioning. So currently, it's taking us an average of 35 days to complete the processing of new employees. Again, this is 5 days lower than what it was in 2016, and we set a target of 30 days, another 5-day reduction in 2018. So again, just a few examples of how you might set targets, again, that are ambitious but also attainable, based on past performance. The key is, being able to collect that data accurately and reporting on it accurately. Any questions about this? Yes.
In terms of the target for 2018, how do you effectively, decide that? Is it just something that you just chose arbitrarily, or it's based on data?
This is based on the trend here. So the increase here mirrors what we observed before. So this is basically saying that we were able to achieve an increase from 65% to 80% over the past year. And we believe that with the resources currently available, we should be able to see a similar increase over the next year. So it's again using past historical data to predict future performance. Again, this assuming that the resources are still in place to continue this trend.
Is this something that you do professionally, or you get the consultant to kind of predict for you, or you just decide it as a committee?
Use your people. Use your people. Your people are your best consultants. The people who are on the front lines doing the work every day. You ask them, they tell you what's possible and what's not. As a leader, honestly, as a leader, as a manager, you just have to have, be humble and acknowledge the wealth of knowledge that your employees have. include them on your committees, and they will tell you what's possible and what's not. And once they tell you, and once you follow their input, they will kill themselves to achieve this. But if you again ignore their input, don't seek their input, don't take their guidance, they're going to resist every step of the way. So you can either, as a manager, as a leader, be smart and involve them in the decision making early on, get their buy-in and their support, or you can choose to do it on your own with your consultants and set yourself up to fail. So, as I mentioned earlier, I presented, the 4 phases of the strategic management process to you as a linear process, but in fact, it's a cyclical process. So again, what we did, a few years ago, when we were developing our 2014-2019 plan, is we put together a report documenting our performance during the first year of our operations as a college. Based on the initial strategic plan, we looked at that report carefully. What objectives did we achieve? What objectives we did not? Why? What can we learn from the initial plan? All of this becomes very useful information to integrate into your next strategic planning cycle. Because you want to build on your successes and you want to learn from your mistakes. As an organization, that's what ensures, again, that you're relevant, that you're, again, learning from the past while being attentive to what the future holds. So again, if you go back to So if you go back to our strategic planning website, you will see, looking back, the strategic plan 2008-2013. This is the report on our initial strategic plan. This document shows you, for every objective that we included in our initial strategic plan, it shows you how we performed and what objectives we met and what objectives we did not meet. Okay. So you can see here, for example, again, this is our initial strategic plan. Objective E1.1, we achieved that. E1.2, we made significant progress, but we did not achieve it. E1.3, we made progress. E1.4, we exceeded it, not only we achieved it. For each of our objectives, we went through this process, collecting the data every year, and for the 5-year plan, and we identified clearly again the status of each objective at the end of that initial 5-year period. And this became a very important source of information. Again, when we were doing our internal assessment under phase 1, this became a very important source of information to help guide our current strategic plan. And it's all public. It's all public information. I mean, we put it all out there because we're accountable for this. Okay, so whether we like it or not, yes, sir.
So when you're developing a 5-year plan, you said earlier that it takes about a year or two to develop a 5-year plan. At what point in the middle of within a 5-year plan, you start developing the next one.
Towards during the 1 to 2 years towards the end of that strategic plan. Yeah. So before this plan concluded, we were already working on the next plan.
So you're going off like the first 2-3 years.
The first 3 to 4 years. Yes.
So does that mean that you're already working on the next one for after 2019? Because this is 2017 already.
We'll start working on it next year. Any questions about this, folks? Okay. So the value of strategic planning. I hope again we appreciate that it does provide an overarching direction for the organization moving forward, adds discipline and control, offers a shared frame of reference for all stakeholders to refer to, provides a context for organizational decision making. It does improve communication, and when done appropriately can be very motivating for staff. Sometimes strategic planning fails. Why? I've touched on most of those points during class today. Strategic planning fails, again, if we don't involve the appropriate people. Okay? All stakeholders. For us, for the College of Public Health, that's our students, our alumni, our employers, our preceptors, okay, our faculty, our staff, our university administrators. They are all involved in the strategic planning process. For a hospital, it's their patients, the families of the patients, the doctors, the nurses, the insurance companies, okay, are among their key stakeholders. Strategic planning can fail if we do not develop consensus on the situation. So we give our working groups time to brainstorm, collect data, and develop consensus. The working groups typically have at least 1 year to produce their reports and recommendations for the planning committee. As I mentioned before, if we separate financial and strategic planning, chances are our strategic plan will fail. We have to allocate the necessary budgetary and other resources to support our objectives. Analysis paralysis. If we discuss, and don't make a decision. Okay? If we avoid the critical issues, okay, so we should face the elephants in the room, okay, not hide from them. Again, we should not assume that objectives will take care of themselves. That's why we have to have detailed action plans like we talked about, and in block letters if there is no communication. Okay? Communication throughout the strategic planning process with all of the different stakeholders. As I mentioned at the beginning of class, the phases of the strategic management process align very nicely with the core functions of public health. Those are the core functions, again, that Dr. Beatty covered in week 1, assessment, policy development, and assurance. And you can see how, again, the phases of strategic management are nicely aligned with the core functions of public health. So to conclude our class today, we are going to do one final activity. So again, this is just to wrap up our discussion. Unlike the questions that were on your online quiz, which had a clear bulletproof answer, those statements here, those questions, are really meant to trigger your thinking and your discussion, because it's not always very clear, right? What the answer is. So that was by design, and I was glad that you were, engaged in that discussion. So let's see what you guys think. True or false? Strategic management is a technique, not a philosophy.
False.
It has elements of both, right? I mean, there is a technique. Those 4 phases that we talked about represent a process, a technique. But at the same time, it is an organizational philosophy to commit to implementing this process that takes time, that takes resources. Okay, it does require commitment from the very top and involvement of all levels. Okay, so true or false? They're both right in this case. It is a technique, but it's also an organizational philosophy. This one is easier.
True.
People must take ownership in the process and results. True. Okay?
Yeah, true.
Is anyone not clear about this? Number 3, strategic management is about organizational renewal.
True.
Number 4, strategic management is a magic bullet. There really is no such thing as a magic bullet, as much as we'd like to, believe in the magic wands of the Disney princesses and all of that. Everything takes work, takes effort, takes planning, takes dedication. So it's not a magic bullet. Number 5. Strategic management must have full commitment from the top, from the start. True. Again, commitment from the top of the organization, involvement of all levels. Okay. Number 6. Strategic management must rely on consultants as much as possible.
False.
False. It must rely on who? On your people. Right? On your people. Number 7, people learn by doing, so it takes time for them to get it. True. 8, the process of strategic planning is less important than the outcomes. False. The process is as important as the outcomes. Without a good process in place, it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to achieve the desired outcomes. It will take a long time to do and see results. I heard quite a bit of discussion around this one. It's both. It's both. It's largely true. For small tasks, yes, possibly you can achieve them quickly. But for really major goals and objectives, you have to be patient and allow time. About what?
10-year plan for the.
5 years.
Sorry, 5 years.
Young people can track them on an annual basis. For something, folks, we're not dismissed yet. The question is whether we're already seeing, results of our current strategic plan, and the answer is yes, already seeing them. For example, one of our goals, objectives in our strategic plan was to develop a doctoral program, a new program, we said, in the Department of Health Services Administration and Policy. So we have already developed a doctoral program and admitted our first student. So So several of the goals and objectives are either in progress or have been achieved. Okay. Finally, I will leave you with this. And this is not me because I'm not as smart as Albert Einstein. The significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. Okay? Folks, any questions? Any final thoughts? Yes, sir.
Mark, my question is, for the first and the ninth question, you said it can be true or false. Meaning,
which one? The first one?
Yes.
Yes.
In our forthcoming exams, are you saying that if you pick true or you pick false, the answer might just be right?
Yes. If it's like this, but typically on the exams, just like on the online quizzes, there is a true or a false answer. This is different. This is a classroom exercise to trigger discussion. But on exams and online quizzes, we do not trick you. You know, the answer should be very clear and obvious. Okay, folks. Amy is going to upload the Illinois and the Florida strategic plans to the course website. You should be able to find them under resources for this week. So if you haven't had a chance to take your own copy, they will be uploaded online if you'd like to review them. Okay? Next week is the midterm. I will see you the following week. Okay? It was great having you today. I had lots of fun.